want to continue our study concerning, we've been looking at the question, and that question is, are you a disciple of Jesus Christ? And we have pointed out the fact that if you're going to be a disciple of Jesus Christ, one of the first things that you have to do is that you have to become a disciple. In order to become a disciple, that means that we're going to have to do what Jesus tells us to do in order to become a disciple of His. And last time we looked at the fact that there are marks of a disciple. We pointed out that if a person is going to be a disciple of Jesus Christ, then he must be willing to abide in the words of Jesus. And Jesus tells us that we must abide in His word. If a person is going to be a disciple of Jesus Christ, then that person must be willing to love the brethren. And Jesus Christ teaches us that we are to love one another. Also, if we're going to be a disciple of Christ, then another mark of a good disciple is the fact that a good disciple will bear fruit for the Lord. But today, I want us to look at the fact that in order to be a good disciple or a disciple of Jesus Christ, we need to consider the cost. And what is it going to cost me? What is it going to cost you to be a disciple of Jesus Christ? Well, Jesus tells us that if we're going to be a disciple of His, then we must put Him first. You can't be a good disciple of Jesus Christ unless you're willing to put Him first. Jesus said that He must come first. Let's notice in the book of Luke chapter 9, and I want us to notice what Jesus says there in Luke chapter 9 about putting Him first. And I think that some people it's just hard for them to do that. But notice in the book of Luke chapter 9, beginning with verse number 23. That's Luke chapter 9, beginning with verse number 23. And this is what it says. And He said unto them, if any man will come after me, okay, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. So it's not just a weekend thing, but following Christ is a daily task. We must follow Him day in and day out. And that's what it takes to be a disciple of Jesus Christ. If any man will come after me, let him deny himself. So you've got to deny yourself. It's not about what you want anymore, but it's about what Christ wants and how I can be a good disciple of His. And this must be done on a daily basis. But notice, He goes on to say, for whosoever will save his life shall lose it. But whosoever shall lose his life for my sake, the same shall save it. For what is a man's advantage if he gains the whole world and lose his own soul? What good is it if you can gain the whole world, but yet you lose your soul? So in order to be a disciple of Jesus Christ, we must be willing to sit down and consider the cost, because it's going to cost you something. You can't serve Jesus Christ, you can't be a disciple of Christ for nothing. It's going to cost you something. In the book of Luke also, chapter 14, beginning with verse number 25, I want you to notice something else that Jesus says. beginning with verse number 25, notice, and there went out great multitude with him, and he turned and said unto them, notice what he says, if any man come to me, and hate not his father, and mother, his wife, and children, his brethren, his sisters, yea, his own life also, cannot be my disciple. And whosoever does not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. Did you notice here? And maybe this has never happened to you, but there have been people that this has happened to. There have been people who, because of their wanting to obey the gospel and them obeying the gospel, have lost their family. You might say, no, that's not possible. Oh, yes, it is. There are some people that dislike the gospel, that dislike God's word, dislike the church so much that if anyone obeys the gospel and become a member of the Lord's church, they have been put out. I've known one person that was beaten by her family simply because she obeyed the gospel of Jesus Christ. There have been marriages broken up because one of the mates decided to obey the gospel and become a disciple of Jesus Christ and live for him, and the other mate didn't like it. So you might think, no, that's not possible. It is possible. But suppose that do happen to you. Suppose you obey the gospel and your husband don't want to live with you anymore. What are you going to do? Well, you just continue to live for the Lord. No matter what may come. Say your mom and dad do put you out. What are you going to do? Well, you need to live for the Lord no matter what. And I say that because this is what Jesus said. Notice, once again, if any man come to me and hate, that is to love less his father, his mother, his wife, his children, brethren, sisters, yea, his own life also, he cannot be my disciples. So in other words, we cannot allow anything or anyone to come between us and serving Jesus Christ, to come between us and being a disciple of Jesus Christ. You might have to lose your family. You might have to lose your husband. You might have to lose your children. But is that important that you should lose your soul? Would you rather lose a husband, a mother, a brother, or sister than to lose your soul? Absolutely. But see, if you serve the Lord, if you become a disciple of his and live for him, you might lose your family, but at least you won't lose your soul. And that is very important. But I want you to notice also something else that Jesus said in the book of Matthew chapter 10. And we want to begin reading with verse number 34. Notice Matthew chapter 10, verse number 34. Hear again these words of Jesus Christ. He says, think not that I have come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. Verse 36. And a man's foe shall be they of his own household. He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Now, those are the words of Jesus. I hope that we never have to, face a situation like that, where you have to give up your family or whoever it may be. But it just might come to that. Let's just face it. It could come to that. And if it does, then you must be willing to choose Jesus Christ. Christ must come first in our lives if we're going to be a disciple of His. And I know of one situation right now that a young lady wants to obey the gospel of Jesus Christ. She's not grown yet. She's a teenager, but yet her mother insists that she do not. And as of now, she has not. But maybe one day she'll get the courage to do so. My friends, we cannot allow anyone to come between us and being a disciple of Jesus Christ. And so when we decide to become a disciple, we need to count the cost, because sometimes the cost can be very high. I see that my time is gone, and I hope that I've said something to encourage you to want to be a disciple of Jesus Christ no matter what. Until next time, we bid you a pleasant good day.
Together on our knees, let us break bread together on our knees.